Baba Booey, fellas. So there is a storm coming in, or it's already kinda here. So I thought it's a perfect time to go in and work on a new amulet together. And last time we made the Surt one, so I asked which ones you would want to see, and Jason Gavin said that he would want to see Njörd, and a lot of people agreed with him, so that should be the next one that we go with. Also, just a note, the storm is named Hans, which is funny because Hans sounds like some very friendly guy. So yeah, let's get away from the storm together and into the computer to design a Njörd Amulet. By the way, I want to show you something cool. I picked out this place to film here, and I found something cool here. So this is a folk belt, and this is a tradition that I have not seen in Sweden before, and I asked my Swedish fellas as well. They said they've not seen it, but it's something that's very prevalent in Estonia. Over there it is a tradition to tie these onto trees that are on holy sites known as heaths. A heath could be any holy site, but nowadays it's come to mean a holy site with a big ass tree on it. And this is the ward of evil spirits. At times it is to heal you. And over here it's right next to a passage grave. If you want to know more about passage graves, there's a really good video over at Moose Lady's channel. I'll leave a link in the description. I'll try to link it here as well. It's a very good overview about passage graves overall. But anyway, yeah, let's get inside the mound now and start working on the amulet together. This is where the magic happens here. So hop on in. Njörd is a god from Norse mythology, and I'll do a very quick recap and symbolism explanation because we have a lot of information on him. Most notably, he is associated with the sea and water as well as fishing, also being the father of Freya and Freyr, husband of Skadi, a survivor after Ragnarök, and the priest of ancient traditions and ruler of many temples. And according to Loki, the children, or at least one of them, he had with his sister, so this likely has some esoteric meaning similar to how Ran has 9 daughters, which are the embodiment of waves. Njörd, having 2 prominent figures in Norse mythology with his sister, very likely also has some reference like that. But that's a story for another time. His marriage to Skadi happens when he gets picked by her as a prize for when Skadi's father gets sent to hell. The deal is that Skadi gets some old Norse equivalent of Tinder and has to pick a husband only by their toes. Picking the prettiest pair of leg fingers, she thinks it'll be Balder, but instead it's Njörd. So salt water must be good for your feet, fellas. The marriage falls apart though because Njörd doesn't like snowy hills, which Skadi is very into, and Skadi doesn't like the sea side, which Njörd is very attracted to. That is why I've depicted Njörd with a beard that symbolizes a waterfall, and on his back are nooses, which would be used to tie down ships to shores. So I've depicted him as the seaside or docks kinda that holds on to ships. At the bottom down of his back I've depicted chariots, as we have a kenning for Njörd, which mentions he is the god of chariots. Finally, I've also included his beautiful toes. So now let's turn him from digital to real and make a bronze amulet in honor of him. Here is how it turned out. Looks good for me. I am kinda unsure, and I'll show you a close-up how this beard will turn out because it's very small details, but maybe it'll catch on. And on the back here as well, I think I went way too small with the details. We'll see though. And I wouldn't want to lose the toes because they're rather important. So this is a bit of a more trickier one to cast, I feel like. But I mean, there's one way we can find out, so let's give it a go. So, I've been using this silicone up until now, but they are having some supply shortages, so I have ordered myself this yellow one here and this blue one. So one is 30, the other is 20. So the higher the number, the harder it should be, And the harder the mold is, I've found out that it works much better. Let's start with the yellow one today and see how that works. And now I build a little home for Njörd over here, which I use Legos to build this casing. This I will use to pour the silicone into, so it keeps it in peace and it keeps it a nice squarish shape. So I have an easier time tightening afterwards when I need to put the wax into the silicone mold. I will also be gluing it this time to seal all of the little holes and tape it down to make it even more safer. I didn't do it last time. It didn't really cause any issues then, but it's always better to be safe than sorry, I think. And this silicone is also a two-component one, meaning I have to put component A and component B and mix them together really well for it to take effect. And then after that, I have to wait a bit for it to harden. And as with everything in life, it helps if you suck it to get it hard. So I put it into my vacuum chamber. This also helps getting out all of the little bubbles in there so that it doesn't leave any impurities. So yeah, just a little tip for you fellas out there. So this is hardened overnight now, and all I need to do now is break open the Lego mold around it, and I cut out the piece in the middle. This leaves me a hollow space in the shape of Njörd, and then I can use my meat injection needles, which I have repurposed to get a wax figure of Njörd that I can later cast from bronze. And here's what it turned out like. So I will make a couple more for myself, and then I can use those to create the tree for myself, which I will use for the bronze casting. And I glue these small bits underneath the models, because this keeps it away from the main sprue. It's called basically the trunk of the tree. And I leave them at a 45-degree angle. I found out that this is the most optimal way to cast. I have also done some statues at a 90-degree angle. It really depends on what you're casting. But for these god amulets, I have figured out that it is the best if they are at this 45-degree angle. And I haven't really noticed if there is a difference if I have them face down or face upwards. So I put them sometimes face upwards, face downwards. Doesn't seem to make any difference. The details are the same on both sides. Only thing I can think about is that when you are pouring in the plaster later on into this thing, and if you have it upside down, you need to think that you get the bubbles out of there. Otherwise they will stay in there, metal will flow into it, and you will have these small little bronze balls. They're really easy to cut off, but it's still a little bit of extra work. And after all that is done, I am ready to mix the plaster that I use. I pour it into the mold. Again, I vacuum it to get all of the air out, as I said, and I shake it a little bit here and there as well, so that all of the little bubbles that can get stuck under the amulets and so on, that they move away as well, and you can see it bubbling a lot. So after all of that is done, I let it sit for like 2 hours, after which I take it open again. I carve away a bit of the bottom over here to make it able for the wax to really pour out. Because what I do now is I put it into a pot of water and I boil out the wax from it. This also leaves me the opportunity to later reuse that wax that I have boiled out. And now I just make a better pouring hole for myself. So now I just set it into the kiln and it stays there for 13 hours, and we will come back tomorrow and it is ready to be poured. Now that the metal has melted, I will take it out from the kiln. I will place it down in this little bucket I have filled with sand, so if any metal drips over, the sand will catch it. So now I just brush off the excess plaster I have on here to see if they all turned out pretty right. And I cut it out as well to further examine the pieces. After all of them are good, I cut them all out, and then I can create the patina and everything else that needs to be worked on them.
Should be tight enough. It's very important I keep his toes now.
And now it's time to boil some water, which I use to clean off the piece completely from all of the excess plaster that might be on it. And I use a wire brush as well to get into little small places that boiling water might not get into. And this is done so it would be easier to further work on it with ebonol, which will create the patina on it. So after I've treated it with ebonol, it will be completely black on the outside, which I then use a brush to take off the topmost layer of the black, which leaves this cool antique bronze look. And as with all of the god amulets that I do, I have also made a teaser for this one, so let's look together how the result turned out. So that is that for this time. So to my surprise, the beard and the details actually did come out pretty nice, both with the wax and the casting. So that's really cool, because then I know that I can have more sharper details like this, or more smaller details like this. And as always, if you have any gods, goddesses, creatures that you would want to see, let me know either here on the comments or on my Instagram. And if you like content like this, I'll also leave a couple of videos here around somewhere. And if you watched it this far, thank you for watching and have a nice day.